Shalom uvracha, everyone. Welcome. We're just about to start here on webyeshiva in just 1 minute. All right, we're going to start with the nigun. Let's go for it.
שושנים, ימי בינה, ימי שמונה, כעבור שידור עיניים, ימי בינה, ימי שמונה, כעבור שידור עיניים, ללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללללlלlלlllll שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבולות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, על הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבולות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה, ועל הניסים ועל הפורקן ועל הגבולות ועל התשועות ועל המלחמות שעשית לאבותינו בימים ההם בזמן הזה. I
Shalom uvracha, everyone. It's a privilege, tremendous privilege to spend this sixth night of Hanukkah with all of you here on webyeshiva. To all our students, webyeshiva, Chanukah Sameach. To all our students not yet on webyeshiva, please join us. Go to webyeshiva.org. Webyeshiva is run and founded by my Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Chaim Bravender, and thank God it's been reaching thousands and thousands across the world. So, Alevai Be'ezrat Hashem, by the end of this learning tonight, will already be hundreds and hundreds more tune-in connected mitoch simcha and archavat adat. Before we go right into the teaching tonight, I'm just letting you know that I'm very overwhelmed. Why? It's been the most beautiful Hanukkah. It's just been gorgeous. Every single night has been filled with its own beauty, its own chen, its own grace, its own charm. And once we hit the halfway mark, when we lit 5 last night, and we realized, wow, we're already halfway through, there was a little bit of a pain in the heart, saying, I can't believe we're already past half of this already. But each night has its own uniqueness. But what kind of is the machana mishutaf, is the common denominator with every single night that you light, is that you realize that you're inscribing yourself more and more into the book of life, into Sefer HaChaim. So you might be thinking, wait a second, aren't we done with that? Isn't that what took place a few months ago through Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur? So if you wanted to extend it then and say the final sealing is Hoshana Rabbah, maybe Simchas Torah, okay, but Hanukkah? Well, Chassidim have the minhag, many of them, to wish each other a gmar tova. You should be inscribed and sealed in the book of life, dafka, specifically during Hanukkah. And in fact, in the prayers that you recite before you light the candles, specifically the ones written by Reb Tzvi Elimelech of Dinov and Reb Noam Elimelech, you use certain phrases that you use by Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. You use it before you light the menorah. And specifically, there's one prayer that we say before we light the menorah, which we said on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And those words couldn't be more applicable to the state of absolute... It feels like it's Purim, actually, in the world. It doesn't even feel like Hanukkah. It feels kind of like Purim. But those words that we say on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are words that I want to sing for a few minutes right now. And the story about these words from the Musaf, from the Shmona Esrei prayer, is a story that we always share around Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, but it's so shayach to right now as well. It's told about the Chidush Yarim, who was the first Rebbe in the dynasty of Gur, that one year before Rosh Hashanah he received a letter from one of his followers, from one of his Chassidim. And the letter was basically a question asking the Rebbe, what's the most important prayer of the high holidays? The Machzor, the prayer book, it's very intense. There are a lot of prayers in there. Some people get so overwhelmed by the length and the width, the thickness of the Machzor, of the prayer book of the high holidays, they don't even open it because it's too overwhelming. Totally understandable. But this Chassid said, if I really wanted to focus on one thing, and one thing specifically, which prayer should that be? So the answer which he received back is beautiful, it's monumental, and it's you and I today. The answer was, the Rebbe said as follows, I could see that you really, really, really want to know the answer to this question. And usually, I don't have time to answer letters before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Specifically this year, it's extremely, extremely busy. However, I could see that the ink got a little bit smeared. The ink from the letter that you wrote to me got a little bit smeared. Some letters didn't come out so clearly, because you could see that your tears that were dripping out of your eyes went onto the letter, that you were crying. You were bawling while you asked me what you asked me. So therefore, the Rebbe said, I must answer you, and I must let you know that the truth is, every single prayer of the high holidays is Kodesh Kodeshim, is the Holy of Holies. How could we say one's holier than the next? But if there's one moment, one epic moment during the prayers that one should put, I don't know what the exact words he said, extra attention, or open up his heart a little bit more, it's the following prayer. It's the prayer when we say like this, and I'll try to explain this while we sing it. Elokeinu ve'elokei avoteinu, our God and the God of our fathers, Meloch al kol ha'olam kulo bichvodecha. Master of the world, may you reign, may you be king, may you shine your royal presence, your presence that's filled with honor throughout the whole world. V'nose al kol haaretz bikorecha. Let the whole world know how precious it is to have godliness in their life. Ve'ofa be'adar gaon uzecha al kol yoshvei tevel artzecha. In all the inhabitants on your universe, let them know you care, let them know you're there. And the Rebbe said, these words deserve more and more attention at this point in the prayers. It is so crucial to cry out from such a real, very deep place inside. So these words are V'yeda kol pa'u ki ata pe'alto, V'yovin kol yetzu ki ata yetzarto. May every single creature know who created them, and every living person in the world should know that God, you really care. That's the prayer on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur that the Ger Rebbe said, pay most attention. And this is what we say before we light the menorah as well. So please join me wherever you are right now, and we'll get to the text in a minute. But Hanukkah is a time of outpouring of the soul with tefillah, with immense, immense prayer, coming from the most beautiful, beautiful place deep inside, a reflection of ourselves that we see through the light of the candles. V'yeda kol pa'ul ki ata pe'alto, v'yavin kol yetzur ki ata yetzarto. V'yeda kol pa'ul ki ata pe'alto, v'yavin kol yetzur ki ata yetzarto. V'yeda kol pa'ul ki ata pe'alto, v'yavin kol yetzur ki ata yetzarto. V'yeda kol pa'ul ki ata pe'alto, v'yavin kol yetzur ki ata yetzarto. Oh, So I would love to share with you something that happened a few nights ago, 2 nights ago, on the lighting of the 4th night. Every single night, I'm sure it's like this everywhere in the world, specifically here in Eretz Yisrael, in the Holy Land, which, there's so much attention right now, more than ever, about the holiday of Hanukkah and Dafka, world current affairs happening that are taking place right now. So much focus right now on the Holy Land. I have the privilege of learning with you and broadcasting live from my home, which is right in between Yerushalayim, the holy city, and Hebron, the holy city where the matriarchs and patriarchs are buried, from our home here in Efrat. And 2 nights ago, it was the fourth candle, and I shared this with my friends last night at a concert that we had. And we had a call about 2 weeks ago to come and perform the main Hanukkah lighting in the Mamila Mall. The Mamila Mall, the boardwalk, the area, this outdoor mall, is right before, it's in the heart of the city of Yerushalayim, and it's right before you enter the area, the steps leading up to the old city. It's an incredible, beautiful place. And leave it to Chabad, the Masters of Light, that set up there a candle lighting every single night. And every night had a different theme, honoring someone else, or the candles will be lit by someone else. Thousands and thousands come. Well, 2 days ago in Israel, for those of you that are here and those of you that are following the weather here, it was pretty rough outside. And it was pouring, it was hailing, it was coming down hard. And I was definitely expecting the call that they would cancel on me and say, look, we're so sorry, but it's an outdoor candle lighting. How could you, we can't have you come. It's pretty crazy outside. But as the time was getting closer that I had to leave, I was having a rehearsal with a friend in the house. And the time to leave, to make it to the candle lighting was getting closer. I didn't know what to do. And I kept on checking in every 2 seconds with the Chabad Rebbets and saying, are we on? So it was yes, then it was no, then it was maybe, then it was partially, then it was maybe next year, then it was, no, come right now. So finally I got the last okay. So I asked him, look, I'm going to leave my house. It takes me a while to get there. Are we doing this or not? And she said, yes, we're doing it. We'll figure out a way. So I get there, and as I'm driving there, it's pouring. And it's freezing outside. I park in the underground there, beneath the mall. And I make my way up through the elevator. When I come outside, the place is empty. And I asked one of the guards there, where is the candle lighting taking place? He looked at me like I was crazy, as if he was asking me, do you see what it looks like outside right now? It's insane out here. What do you mean where the candle lighting? So it took me a while to kind of get over the fact that I do look like I'm out of my mind. I just said to him, well, where have they been doing it the last few nights? So he pointed to a certain area towards the beginning of the strip. And I walk over there and there's nothing there besides a microphone. And it's pouring, it's freezing. I'm waiting, no one's showing up. My hands, I didn't have gloves on me, my hands are much frozen. I'm thinking, how in the world am I going to play guitar right now? My hands are freezing. And I just had to do what I had to do. I waited there. And it ended up being, I don't even have the words, and I get the chills when I think about this, and I could tell this story 50 million more times, because the story brings Hanukkah home in such a profound way. Because after about 15 minutes of it pouring so hard and no one showing up, finally, an older man comes up. Looks very excited. He's also freezing. He's like all shriveled up, and he says, where's the candle lighting? I'm here. I'm like, okay, who are you? He said, my name's Ofer, he said. He said, hi, I'm Shlomo. I'm supposed to be playing here. He said, Efo kulam? He's like, where's everyone? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. Well, I asked him again what his name was and what his last name was. And he said to me, Ofer Cohen. And then I realized that night, 2 nights ago, was designated that the menorah, this beautiful outdoor menorah, this Chanukah, should be lit by victims of terror, families of victims of terror. When I asked him again what his name was, I remember very clearly that I saw that face before, but I couldn't place it. It took me another minute, and then I realized he's the father of one of the most precious angels that I ever saw. Her name was Hadar Cohen. She was a 19-year-old Israeli soldier, an absolutely angelically looking, beautiful neshama who was murdered, who was killed just a few meters away from where he and I were standing. While she was saving lives, she was killed in the line of duty, mamish in the heart of Yerushalayim. And her father, I remember him, and then I remember where I saw this guy's face when I watched the funeral of Hadar, and I saw the way this father said the words Yitgadal v'Yitkadash Shemei Rabba. My life will never be the same from that Kaddish, and my life will definitely never be the same from that moment when I realized who he was. And I gave him such a hug, and I told him, I want to let you know that from the day that your daughter was killed, her picture is on our screen at home. My girls are going to grow up knowing exactly who this gibora was, who this precious hero was. And then a few minutes later, after the tears are coming out, some more people come. Not people that were coming for the lighting to be part of the dancing, but more families, victims of terror. A few minutes later, the family of Rabbi Mickey Mark, father of 10 from Otniel, who was gunned down on a Friday afternoon, they came to be the guests to light the menorah. Another bereaved father showed up a few minutes later. His son was killed 3 months ago in Yerushalayim while they were chasing a terrorist by a place called Givat HaTachmoshet near the Ramat Eshkol neighborhood. And the place began to become more and more filled with the most beautiful and broken souls in Am Yisrael. Families of victims of the terror. No one else was there, besides about 50 or 60 of us, me, another friend of mine playing a little percussion, and all these souls, all these families that came out in the pouring rain to light a huge menorah in the heart of Yerushalayim. When they sang and danced to the words Ala Nisim, Ve'ala Purkan, Ve'ala Gvurot, Ve'ala Tshuot, Ve'ala Milchamot She'asita La'avoteinu, Bayamim Ahem Bazman Hazeh. Friends, I want you to know something. We don't know anybody. We don't know anything. We have no idea what people are made out of. We have no idea what we're made out of. But Rabbi Nachman writes in the second teaching, in the second part of Likutei Moharan, Yemei Chanukah hem Yemei Hoda'ah. The days of Hanukkah were designated as days of figuring out what I'm thankful for. When I saw these families, the victims of terror, when I saw these fathers that just buried their children this past year, and when I saw little kids that also came to light the menorah, little kids that buried their parents this past year, and we're singing there, and we're saying, She'asita la'avoteinu bayamim ahem bazman hazeh. You know what kind of a miracle it is that I'm part of Am Yisrael? What a miracle. What a miracle. There are billions of people in the world, and there are a few million that light the menorah and are part of something so big. We're part of a hope that we ourselves can't understand. But that's not the point of understanding it or not. I stood there in front of those families while it's pouring in Mamila. It's coming down so hard. There was no one else there besides a bunch of bereaved families who I don't even know if they met each other before or not. But you know what, friends? Am Yisrael is something, it's such a secret that keeps on getting unfolded more and more and more and more. But you gotta be willing to cry. You got to be willing to pour out your kishkas and say to God, I really want to be thankful that I'm part of something, even if it hurts. I want to be thankful that I'm part of something so awesome. And that was my Hanukkah 2 nights ago. That was the candle lighting. Freezing. Mamish, I honestly, for the chaver that know that when your fingers are out there in the cold, in the freezing cold for too long, and you're not playing with gloves, at a certain point you realize you don't feel your fingers anymore. You have no idea if you're playing the right chords or not, and I probably wasn't at all. I don't know if I was singing on key, but I'll never forget the image of Hadar's Cohen's father dancing with the Mark family. I'll never forget it for the rest of my life. And it's almost like people say, oh, if only we had a miracle today like we had in the times of the Greeks, then I'd be able to connect more to the Jewish religion and to the authenticity of the halachic world of the Jewish. I don't know what else to say. I think any miracle that God would show me after what I saw with my eyes, these three families, specifically these three families dancing around the menorah, any other thing would be a letdown. Any other thing would be a letdown. So that's been my Hanukkah. And somehow Hanukkah brings the best out of all of us. It's such an interesting thing that you see. I've seen this by a lot of the what's called the non-religious Israeli bands that have concerts over Hanukkah. So when they're publicizing that they have these shows, they always say, "Begam ken laseh adlakat nerot lead habama." They're always saying, we're also going to be having the lighting of candles, which will be taking place by the stage as well. So that's part of their promo to get a crowd to come. And I was thinking about that. It's interesting, when they do concerts on Rosh Hashanah, around Rosh Hashanah, they never promote and say, we'll also have Tkiyas Shofar. Or when they do a concert on Sukkot, they don't say, we'll also have the Arba Minim. They're available for whoever wants. And when they do concerts on Pesach, you don't see in the promo, and we're also going to be having matzahs ready to distribute to everyone. Or if there's a concert over Shavuot, they don't say, and we're also going to have someone laning Aseret Dibrot to make sure everyone is Yotze. It's such an interesting thing. By Hanukkah, it brings out the best of everyone. The concept of what's called kfiyah datit, religious coercion, somehow just fades away. It doesn't exist. There's something in the air of Hanukkah that I wanted to just tap into just briefly, not too long. Everyone has a million things to do, and I'm so honored. Whoever's with us watching right now, I'm sure you have a million places to be. And to be together right now to figure out how is it that Hanukkah brings the best out of all of us. A few years ago, I was privileged to kind of share this book with the world called The Soul of Hanukkah. I could see by the way that Facebook Live works is that you don't see it clearly. You see it, you don't see it the way I'm looking at it right now. You're seeing the reflection of it, so it's backwards. But it's a book of teachings of Shlomo Katz on Chanukah, on the holidays, and I wanted to look at one or two teachings that have to do exactly with why is it that Hanukkah brings the best out of us, but of course, leave it to one of my best friends and Rebbe's, my brother Lazer Lloyd, who I have no idea where you're at right now, my brother. I just love you, and I miss you, and you nailed it. Hanukkah was the only Chag that took place in Eretz Yisrael. And of all the holidays that we read about, Pesach didn't happen in Eretz Yisrael, it happened in Egypt. The story of Purim happened in Persia. Sukkot, we reminisce, we commemorate what happened when we were in huts in the desert. Shavuos was the holiday we received the Torah. It was in Mount Sinai. Eretz Yisrael, like Hanukkah, the Holy Land, brings out the best in you. It brings out the best in you. And the only holiday that took place in Eretz Yisrael brings out the absolutely best in you. Why? What is it about Hanukkah? And listen to this incredible teaching. There's something in halachic status that's called Heker Havlad. Heker Havlad. That the fetus is only recognized when it's before you in. And today we relate to this in modern times more with today's technology of the 3D ultrasounds and all of that, is that only after 3 months can you really see what's there. When Bezrat Hashem, all pregnant women should give birth, b'sha'a tova mutzlachat, it should be healthy, smooth transitions of the souls from up there into this world. There's something called Heker Havlad, that the Vlad is only recognized. We only recognize what's about to come to the world after 3 months. And there are a lot of halachic ramifications for that. It's not for now. But just take it for what it is. Heker Havlad. L'hakir et Havlad. So listen to this incredible teaching. What day was the world created? the world, everyone says, oh, right away. What do people say? Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah is not the day that the world was created. That was Friday of creation. That was the day that man was created. The day the world was created was Chaf Hei Elul, the 25th day of the month of Elul. 3 months after the creation of the world, the planting of the seed into Mother Earth, which created world, what's 3 months to the day from the day the world was created? Chaf Hei Kislev. It was the day of Hanukkah, the first day of Hanukkah. What it means is that God had many dreams for this year. We always know, we always say that when something happens, when we commemorate something that happened many years ago, it's recreated again in time and in space. So every year on the 25th day of the month of Elul, there's a recreation of God's dreams that he has for the formation of the world. However, you only get a taste of what God had in mind to give the world this year 3 months later. The 8 days of Hanukkah is celebrating what kind of light God had in mind for the world, because only now we could see it. It's as if that the month of Tishrei, Cheshvan, and most of Kislev, we couldn't really see. We're going for ultrasounds, but we can't really see exactly what's there. But from Chaf Hei Kislev, and now tonight's Rosh Chodesh Tevet, for these 8 days, we're tasting the dreams that God has for the world. And when you're tuned into that, that's going to bring out the absolute best in you. Nothing can be more sweeter than that. Nothing can give man more of an oomph and more of a desire to figure out how am I part of what's going on right now? How am I part of all of this? You know, when it comes to the laws of Shabbat, all the 39 different melachot of Shabbat, there's a concept that's called hamakeh bepatish, which literally means when you hammer it in. You hammer in a nail into the wall. What I wanted to do right now is I wanted to learn a little tiny piece which will explain to us even a bit more why Dafka right now, the time of Hanukkah, is this concept of bringing out the best in us, bringing out the best in Am Yisrael, the holiday of Eretz Yisrael. And I wanted to learn a very short teaching that we have from this book, The Soul of Hanukkah. And if you have it, many of my friends that are with us right now know you have it. You can get it online as well. I think it's an ebook as well. If you can open up to page 26, and we're just going to learn for 2 minutes from inside what this concept is of Hanukkah being the final nail in this ceiling in what's called the Book of Life, and perhaps to understand a little bit clearer why Chassidim wish each other gmar tova, gmar chasima tova. And we're going to take it from there, and then we're going to sing a bit more as well. So, I think we need one more nigun for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Hanukkah, and I think that we'll take it afterwards to understand it even deeper. Hamakeh bepatish.
La
the calendar? Why do we refer to it as such a crucial time for the whole year? Like we said, this is getting a taste of what God had in mind when He first gave us another year. So Reb Shlomo Katz says like this. The language of the gmar is so strong, Reb Shlomo says. There's something called hamakeh bepatish. Sometimes you hammer something in the wall and it needs just one more knock. And without this final knock, the whole thing falls apart. The final knock is the makeh bepatish. So look what he says here. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Simchas Torah are the highest. But Hanukkah is this final knock, the makeh bepatish. And the Baal Shem Tov says that wherever you reached on Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah, you'll reach even higher on Hanukkah. That's what the Baal Shem is saying. It's something that we don't usually think of too much. We hear those kind of teachings. We're like, oh, that's such a cute Hasidic twist on something. When the Baal Shem Tov says such words, there's something there. There's something there. The Baal Shem Tov says that wherever you reached, like, and I want us to transport ourselves, go back just a few months ago, when the world, was recreated, and when we had these dreams, and we thought, we'll reach here. This year we'll get to wherever we get to. This year I'm not going to fall into this shtuyot. This year I'm not going to go into those illusions. This year is going to be different. Where were we a few months ago? The Baal Shem Tov says, when you're standing by the candles and you're lighting the menorah, you can reach even much higher than as high and as pure as you imagined yourself when you were saying, please forgive me, God, on Yom Kippur. When you bench the Hanukkah candles, all the gates of heaven are opened. Even, the Baal Shem Tov says, even to prayers which weren't answered on Yom Kippur. When you stand by the candles, it's your neshama, it's your soul that's utmost aware of this. And that's perhaps why I think Hanukkah brings the best out of us. You see, on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and even on Sukkot, it's more that my mind lets me know how I feel, and if I feel like I was forgiven, and if I feel that my prayers were answered. But something else happens to me. It says, Ner Hashem Nishmas Adam, the candle of God is the neshama of the person. My neshama, my soul, is what is my detector as to where things are at. So therefore, that when I'm standing by the candles, what's going on with me? Why? What am I feeling? I'm feeling something that my soul knows. And what my soul knows can't be expressed in words, and you can't tell me anything, whether I'm right or I'm wrong. So Reb Shlomo says that on Yom Kippur, that light that I feel by the menorah, that's not shining so much. It shines a little bit. It's a different kind of feeling, and you can't compare the two at all. But it's a different feeling between a soul feeling and maybe a mind feeling. So I'm standing on Yom Kippur, I'm standing before God, and I'm saying, I'm sorry, I've been doing so much wrong, please forgive me. But this was a classic question Reb Shlomo used to ask everyone. Have you ever heard of someone standing by the Hanukkah lights saying, Oy vey, ashamnu bagadnu, I did this wrong, I did that wrong? No one says that. But by Hanukkah, I'm not busy telling God I'm so sorry. See, many times I think that in order for me to be close to God, I got to come clean. And I got to confess. Because God doesn't want anyone walking around being anything more than they're not, right? So yeah. On Yom Kippur, that might be the way that I take off that layer of illusions that exist between myself and my Creator. But on Hanukkah, it's not where I'm at all. Why is that? So it's very simple, Reb Shlomo says. Because when I listen to this, this is really good. When I kindle the lights, it's clear to me that God was never angry. True, I did wrong. And next time, I'll be more careful. But is there any mistake big enough to tear us away from God? Of course not. And that is the greatest revelation of the Hanukkah light. There's so much to say just on this little teaching over here. But what it's explaining to us is the Baal Shem Tov explains, and he's pushing us. And the truth is, his whole life and the whole Hasidic movement is this whole movement with training Jewish people to learn how to trust their soul, to learn how to trust their neshama. That which you feel by the menorah, by the candlelights, that's the most real feeling you'll get. We were learning earlier this week, we were learning a certain song written by a beautiful Israeli artist. His name is Hanan Ben Ari. And in his song, I forget what it's called. I think it's maybe Hayeladim Halalu or Hanerot Halalu. I don't remember right now. You could look at it in a previous class. What he says there is that in order to know what your child needs to hear from you, look at their faces while they're lighting the candles, while they're lighting the menorah. Why? Well, now we understand it. Because when a child feels that his parents were really never angry at him, they just loved and cared for him, all those mechitzas, all those things, and all those places in life that pushed us to go more into that guilt zone or to say, I'm sorry a million times, they suddenly, it's not that they don't exist, they're irrelevant. Because right now what exists is that I feel so much myself and I'm in tune with Hashem, with you, and with what you have, with what you want for the world. That's what I'm in tune with. And there's no greater consolation than learning how to trust your soul, what your soul feels. There's no greater consolation to a broken heart, and we're all of us. Those of us that are watching now, those of us that will watch later, those of us that will never watch this, we're all broken. And we're all looking for some kind of consolation in this world. And therefore, I want to end with a beautiful teaching that I once heard. I think that I heard it in the name of Rabbi Nachman. However, I've asked other Breslovers and no one seems to have ever heard of this teaching before. But it's another explanation as to why Hanukkah is hamakeh bepatish, it's that final sealing into the book of life. You know, we're looking for that consolation. We want to feel consoled. We want our pain to kind of go away, but not in a fake way, in a substance way, in a way that our soul can tell that now is time for nechama. So we have two opinions as to how you're supposed to light the Hanukkah candles. And friends, if it was worth hearing one teaching tonight, I believe it's the following. We have the opinion of Beit Shammai and of Beit Hillel. The opinion of Beit Shammai is, we say, you start with 8 candles, and every single night you take away 1 candle. 8, 7, 6, 5, right? In a descending order. And then you have the opinion of Beit Hillel, and the language that we use for, and this is how we hold today, is that every single day you start with 1 and you add more. And the words that are used in our literature of halacha is ner Chanukah mosif veholech. That when it comes to the light of Hanukkah, you add and you keep on going. And we've taken that's the way that we work in this world. We light 1 candle, and the next night, I know there's going to be even more. Ner Chanukah mosif veholech, that's the shita that we hold by today. So says whoever the Rebbe is that I heard him say this, Ner Chanukah mosif veholech is the Rashi Tevot, is the acronym of the word Nachamu, Nachamu, Ami, Yoma Elokeichem. 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 Vayidabru aleim Yerushalayim v'kidu eleha. Dabru aleim Yerushalayim v'kidu eleha. Chet Mem Vav. Ner Chanukah Mosif Ve'olech. The true consolation, sweet friends, is when we know that the little bit of good that we did is just the beginning of something much greater to come tomorrow. The great consolation is when something good happens to me, and I don't say to God, oh, thank you so much, I know I might not get ever anything else that's just as good or even more than this. But the greatest consolation is when something good happens to me, there's a candle lit in my life, and I have such bitachon, I have such strength of inner faith, and I know that tomorrow my menorah is going to be even greater. Chevra Am Yisrael needs so much strength, so much emunah. We have so many beautiful candles waiting to be lit by a smile, waiting to be lit by the simplicity of the light of Hanukkah. Maybe that's why it brings out the best of everyone. Because everyone's just standing there and they're saying, here's my wick. No one ever taught me how to light it. But I trust that us coming together is to light my Hanukkah candle. And please God, all of Am Yisrael will feel a nechama, will feel a real strong consolation when the Kohen Gadol, when the high priest will go back into the Holy of Holies, and he'll light the menorah one more time, and this time it'll be lit forever, lenetzach netzachim. Wishing you all gmar, chatima, tova.